Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another Training Tuesday. Today we're going to talk about importing and exporting show information. So whether we want a whole show, a part of a show, a thing from a show, some fixtures from a show, we're going to talk about how we can do that in Magic Q. Several different ways, but it all starts with your source, if you will, show file. So this is my show. I got a nice little floor package in here. I need to take that floor package with me to a different rig or a different show or a different festival or whatever. I'm going to start in the programmed show where I have certain things already programmed, ready to go. And if I only want the floor package, I'm going to choose those fixtures. That is not the fixtures that I meant to choose, though. Get all the right fixtures. There we go. Choose just the floor package. And that's all I need to do. And then I can go export my show. So it's real simple to extract fixtures from the show. When you do that, it's going to take any pertinent information to those fixtures. So any queues, any palettes, any groups having to do with those fixtures are going to go with that information when exporting. So once I have them selected, I'm going to go to Setup. I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to find the button that says Export Show. We're going to click that. We're going to call this Export. And it's going to save a new show file. Now, if I load that show file up, you see that in the plot view down there, if we bring the big plot view up, it's there. Now it's behind the wall of the room. I'd have to rearrange the room. It is there, though. Trust me on that. And you'll see that I have all of the groups that are for those fixtures. So I have my all towers and all bars. I have the towers and the bars individually. I have Max 250s individually. All of that stuff is here. And just to show that it works, I guess we will have to fix the viz here. We'll come in here, attach objects. We will insert a room. We'll just make it really big. There we go. Yeah. Doing here? I'm in the wrong field. That's what I'm doing here. It's early here. Give me a break. Bit back. There we go. Now we got our rig there. And our little plot view. So you'll see here, all of my previous queues still work. If I run back the show, anything having to do with just those lights is in the queues already, but all the other stuff is gone. So real easy to get a part of a show. And then what we could do with this part of a show is we can import it into a different show. So I'm going to go Setup. We're going to load a show. I'm going to load up my next show's rig. So we'll find Merge Into. This little festival rig. And then just like before, we're going to go Setup, hold Shift. We're going to find Import Show this time. Instead of Export Show, we're going to go to Import. Now, what we import is up to us. Entire show is going to take everything. We can import just palettes. If we've built a bunch of palettes for a certain type of fixture in another show, and we wanted to just bring those palettes in, we could do that. Show structure is really cool. It brings in everything as an empty thing. So if you have execute screens that you like, you have a certain playback arrangement that you like, you have all these things in place, but maybe you're doing a drastically different show and it doesn't make sense to try to merge, or not merge, but try to morph and clone and make a show out of another show. Maybe it's just too far different and it's not worth the time. You can do show structure and bring in your execute screens and other things like that. I'll show you that in a bit. And then advanced gives you a ton of other options. For right now, we're just going to say entire show. We're going to find our export show. And you see, it says configuring imported data. If we look at our viz, we'll see that they are there behind the stage. So we probably want to grab these guys. And we can go to our patch. Go to selected heads. Let's put them in the right position. Get them up on stage there. And then Just get these guys arranged real fast. They're in the stage, so we probably want to lift them up a little bit. There we go. And now, bring up the big viz so you guys can see it real well. They're a little bit above the stage, but you can see that our floor package is on the stage. Down where they belong. Go. Now, I made a mistake here, and I'll point that out so you guys can see it. What I did is I did not check my head numbers. So right now, in my patch, I have an issue in that I have multiple 700s head numbers and 600s. So you see all these generic dimmers. I have my axioms from the festival rig, but then I have a generic dimmer, which is supposed to be a VDim for 607, but then I also have another fixture, a bar that's 617. So I made a bit of a mess. So it's something to watch out for. Something you need to know about is before you're going to do this, if we wanted to do this right, we want to go in here. We'll reload our original show. We want to make sure that we're not in, not overlapping head numbers, because what it's going to do is it'll break VDIMs, it'll break other programming. So to do this right, what I would generally do is I would go to patch. We can find our bars here at 701. We'll just make these 2701. Maybe. There we go. We'll find our 8 bars here. We'll make these 2601. And then we'll find our Mac 250s. We'll make them 2501. I'm not 100% sure what's in that Mac 250 group I grabbed, so we'll also make a 2801. So that makes sure that I'm not going to have a collision between my imported heads and my export, or my existing heads in the file I'm importing into. Something to watch out for, because like I said, you may have seen that some of the cells on those blinders were stuck on after I imported them. That's because they probably lost their VDIM because they collided with another fixture. So let's try this again. We're going to come in here, same process. We're going to export our show. We're going to call it export. So save over the existing one. Oh, I didn't select any heads. It's yelling at me. Not something I do very often, so you guys have to bear with me here. There we go. Now we got our floor package. We'll go setup. We will go export show. We will call it export. We'll call it export 2, just so there's some differentiation there. And we will load up our festival file. So we'll load show. We're going to go to merge into show. In on that guy a little bit. And hold shift, import show, entire show, export to, boom, there they are. Now I shouldn't have as much of an issue with things going awry, unless I overlap head numbers again, which is a possibility. Open up our plot, and we will open up the patch. Goes up, forward, right there. So now that they've imported, I can go to page. You see that all of my songs are here. In theory, if I was to play some stuff back, if there were cues containing those, so if we go say loud here, I may have lost another VDIM on accident here. That. Selected. Playpacky wash in there that shouldn't be selected. LED bars. Patch. They got their VDIMs here. Oh, it seems I have broken something. Not sure what I've broken. For interest of time, I will figure that out later and maybe post in the chat what I did wrong there. That may have been my fault. That import show is a very old show file. But you see that it came in. It brought its information. So things like the palettes for each song that I had in that other show file, are here. Things like the cues and the playbacks are here. You see that they are interacting. So I may need to update some palettes. I may need to update some other stuff. Looks like my strobe palette's a little wonky. So you're never going to get away from updating palettes, and it's minor updates. But you can import your shows and this fixtures this way. Moving on from this somewhat failed example, probably because of old head files or something. The other way you can do it is you can import cues, you can import stacks, and you can import pages. So if you don't select any fixtures, so if we go back to our original show, if we don't select any heads, we can come into, say, the page window. And if I just want these songs, say you're with a band that hasn't played a song in 3 years, but they're bringing it back to their set list. So you have to go back to an old show file and find that song to give you something good to start programming from. Well, I can grab these songs here. And if I go to setup, export show, call this export songs. In theory, if I come in here and I load that export songs show, it has brought in just those pages and anything that's on them. So you see my stack store, my queue store, everything is there. Button, and my patch is also there. Anything that was on those pages. So if I didn't use a light in those songs, it wouldn't have brought that light over. But it's got all my groups, everything's there. So now I can piecemeal songs together as well and start trying to rebuild them into the new rig or whatever I want. And of course, I can always import those just like we had imported previously into the other show. We can do the same as I mentioned with stack stores and queue stores as well. So we can select whatever we want, go to export, take that thing out, bring it back into a new show. Very, very quick and easy. Good for being able to, again, piece things back together. You can export just palettes. I did mention I would show you the show structure thing because it is really cool. So if we load a show, just so you can see what the show looks like, go old. See if I can find an old show here. About another one of the festival shows. Should have some, yeah, so these have some pretty gnarly execute screens on them. So if I want these festival execute screens, but I don't want this rig, but I just want everything to be exactly as it was in this show. If I come in here and I go setup, start a new show, we will then import a show as show structure. We'll go find that festival show. And you see, I have all my playbacks down here. If I go to my execute screen, everything's where it belongs. Everything's already set up. If I go to my groups, I already have groups, but you'll notice they're all grayed out. They're grayed out because there is literally nothing in them. There's nothing patched in the show. This becomes really cool when you do start playing with group queues because you could have your spots, your beams, your washes already laid out, set up, ready to go. And then all you have to do is make your patch and populate your groups. And in theory, most of your show should work. Again, it's group queues. You know, you got to update palettes, you got to do little things like that, but it saves you a ton of time. The biggest time saver here, though, is this: not having to come in here and rebuild all of these execute screens that I've spent all this time putting together and regioning and making work and putting the soft palettes in and things like that. It's all already here. As I rebuild these groups and these palettes, as I rebuild these positions and update these palettes, and this is all just going to start coming to life and working. As I start recording into my effects queues, all my effects are going to start working because the stuff is referenced back to the original item. So full circle here, if I hit view item, is CS92. So I would just make my lights do a circle, go to CS92, update it, good to go. So show structure, I think, out of all of this is the most useful thing in the world because we all get our desk laid out the way that we want. We all have everything the way we want it, where we want it, why we want it, and it sucks to have to rebuild that every time we want to start a new show. So yeah, give that a try. Let me know. The last thing is the advanced import. Advanced gives you a ton of options. So if we go to import show and we go to advanced, and we'll just take our merge show. Here we can pick and choose different pieces of things. So we can take the settings, which are your user settings. We can take just the patch. We can take our palettes, effects library, cues, playbacks, grids, curves, viz. I will give you a warning about grids. If you're going to import grids, make sure you have the right space and the right open grids for it. For now, the number one way that this will fail is with grids overlapping and them colliding. So there's a little bit of setup, just like with the head numbers earlier. You want to make sure that everything lines up and has a home. When it comes to this merging of data, this will help you with that. So you can merge heads, palettes, cues, and pages. Basically, the way this works is if you're merging heads and they are the same head number, it will try to put them together. If you're merging palettes, cues, and pages, if they're the same box number or ID number and they're the same name, it will make them one. So if I have generally color number 2 is red, so C2 red, right? If I have C2 red in both shows and it sees C2 red is there as box number 2 in color, that's how it becomes C2, it will put the two together instead of giving me 2 reds if I have this merge selected. Now, if it doesn't have the same name or it doesn't have the same ID number, it will create a new thing. So if I have C2 red and then I have C2 my red, I would end up with 2 red palettes, red and my red, in the merge show. We can also merge only from specific fixtures if you wanted to. And then here we have another option for structure only. So if I wanted to come in here and say choose, we want to merge everything for a certain thing. We'll say done. And there's not much in there to merge because that was kind of an empty show, but generic dimmer. So it's trying to figure it out. So yeah, so lots of options. Remember that we always start with the source information. We choose the thing that we want to merge or the thing that we want to export in that case. Export a show that just has that information in it, and then we merge that back in. That's kind of the work process on it. Don't see any questions on the YouTubes. See if Luke found anything on Facebook there. Questions? No? All right. Well, as always, we will be watching the chat. So if you come up with a question, if you give this a test drive, something's wrong, you're having trouble, you need some questions about how it works, feel free to pop into the chat here, or you can reach out to us at support@ChamSys Lighting or chamsys.co.uk. Yeah. Hopefully you guys have a good week or having a good year so far, and we will see you again soon. Thank you for coming.